Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with another Reddit story for you. This one is from the AITA relationship subreddit, and it is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Thinking About Divorcing My Husband for Cheating on Me with Cake? I'm sure your mind is taking you in several different directions. I, female 32, just found out my husband, male 31, of 3 years has been cheating on me, and I don't know for how long. The past few months have been pretty rocky for us. I struggle with my mental health and I am diagnosed with depression and I take medication for it. But sometimes I still feel off and I go through periods of time where I'm not exactly myself. I'm not rude or mean, I'm just out of sorts. But my husband has always complained about this. Not in a toxic way, or so I thought. He just always said that he felt disconnected from me during these periods of time. I'd been going through one of those times, but my husband seemed much more content with it this time. I thought it was because he was beginning to understand that it wasn't because of him, but just because I'm struggling with difficult thoughts. But one night while we were in bed, my husband went to take a shower and I begrudgingly decided to snoop on his phone. I felt so bad about it, but I let my intrusive thoughts get the best of me. To my surprise, I found an interesting name in his Snapchat conversations, Cake. It's pretty normal to give people nicknames on Snapchat, so I didn't panic at first, but the Bitmoji was a woman. I went through their chat and most of it was empty, except for a chat saved that had an address number. I looked up the address and it was an apartment building about 20 minutes away from us. This stayed on my mind for the entire next day. I tried to brush it off and told myself that I was overreacting, but I couldn't. So I ended up going to the address and knocking on the door. Well, that's ballsy. To my surprise, Cake was the name of a woman he had been hiring to have some fun with behind my back. Cake is a hooker? The name makes a lot more sense now, I guess. I guess it's more of a stripper name. I don't know. I don't personally know what kind of names work for it. Yeah. Anyway, I was crushed. I couldn't believe my husband had done that to me. I went home and waited for him to get back from work, and when he did, I confronted him. It was something along the lines of me screaming at him for effing some random girl named Cake. He told me that I hadn't been as loving to him and he was feeling alone and vulnerable. I'm crushed. I'm writing this while sitting in the bathroom. I told my husband to go stay with his friends while I figure out what to do. I feel bad for not being as loving, but really, Cake? A girl named Cake? I just don't know what to do. I don't know how long this has been going on. I tried to ask the girl about it and she brushed it off as something that happens a lot with a lot of people. Should I divorce him? Am I the astronaut for this? Please help. Okay. So the question is, am I the astronaut for thinking about divorcing my husband for cheating on me with Cake? Cake is a person. We know this now. And this is like, we talk a lot about feelings and, we don't talk a lot about feeling. I guess we do. We talk a lot about how you can't be an asshole for feeling something. I think this falls right along those lines. This is, am I the astronaut for thinking about divorcing? And thinking and feeling are hand in hand, I believe. So I don't think you can be the asshole for thinking about it. I don't know how you could not think about it. The fact that he is using these periods of depression where you feel disconnected as a justification for him to do this is horseshit. That's not okay. It doesn't matter what the reasoning is. If you guys don't have a relationship where you've set ground rules where something like that is okay, and I know some relationships are okay with that. I know some relationships are open like that and people do their own thing and that's cool, but this clearly wasn't something that had been pre-cleared as permissible because OP has a big problem with it. So it was, he had not felt as loved, so he went and got love from Cake. I think that's horseshit. And I don't think that this is the first time because he was so casual about it. I don't, what? I'm a firm believer that you have to get to a point where you love yourself enough that you don't need someone else in your life to be happy, to be fulfilled, and to be okay. Candy Thunder and I both got to that point in our lives separately before we found each other, and I think that's why it worked. When I heard this story being discussed earlier today, they said that a lot of the comments they saw were American Pie related. Yeah, now it all makes sense. It all makes sense now. I do think you have to get to a point where you're happy with yourself to not have so much stress on someone else being with you. That puts a lot of pressure on them. Like you need them at that point. When you're in a long time relationships, it's a different story, I think. But in this case, yes, it does feel like why else wouldn't OP just be like, yeah, that's a deal breaker. That's crossing the line. It's done. Sorry. There's no excuse for it. and trying to pin it on something that I can't control, feeling disconnected during some of these times. I'm doing everything I can to try to control this issue, but sometimes I still feel disconnected. And instead of, being nurturing and trying to help me through that and us tackling this together, you're like, you know what? While you're going through that, I'm going to go do my own thing, and my own thing is going to be cake. And by cake, I mean cake. Horse shit. And I'm sending him all the way here for several reasons, but mostly for using this bullshit excuse. And instead of trying to tackle this issue as a team, for going off to do his own thing, getting his rocks off for cake. And it probably has been happening a while. So OP, think about it this way. For someone that is struggling with depression, having a relationship with someone like this who has now put you in this position, who now you have to look over your shoulder all the time and wonder what's going to be going on. Now all these negative thoughts are going to be seated in your head, and every time you see his phone sitting there when he's not around, how are you going to be able to resist the urge to pick it up and be like, is he telling me the truth now? How are you ever going to be able to trust that person again? And for someone who struggles with depression already, this seems like a trough for depression. This seems like something that is just going to keep feeding the problems here. And if you have someone who is just enabling the problems in your life, you have to amputate. I don't think you have a choice. And if you choose to stay, you're choosing more problems. Unfortunately, that's just the case. Cut the cake. Throw the whole cake out. And the dude.